Well, what else?
A Tale of Two Sisters, not cities, sisters.
Yes.
A Korean horror movie.
And I had not seen this before. Had you?
I had never seen it.
Okay.
No, I had heard of it. I'd heard vaguely good things about it.
And before we get into it, I read the spoilers on this one, and he didn't.
I didn't.
So we'll see how that compares at the end.
Beware of the IMDb when they say spoilers below. They mean it, I guess.
This movie,
I looked at them after. Yeah.
Normally we'll tell you
really
the spoilers and not warn you about the spoilers because it's our show, and that's kind of, you should watch these things before you watch them.
Don't spoil.
Don't spoil this one, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it and go into it ignorant of what's happening, and you'll like it a lot better. Because if we spoil it for you, you're going to be... It's like if you knew what happened at the end of The Sixth Sense, almost. It would ruin the twist.
Yeah, he was kind of bored because he had... And I was intrigued, trying to figure out what was going on.
He didn't know what was going on, and it was fun. I knew what was going on, and it was kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. Right away, I thought... I mean, there's two sisters, two little girls.
This is the line. Go away if you don't want to spoil.
Well, a little bit. No, I'm not gonna.
But now you can.
But right away, what I thought was that one of these girls is imaginary. Like
it's kind of filmed that way in the beginning.
There's only one, but yet they go in the house and the stepmother greets them and is talking to both of them. And well, okay, so much for that theory right away. Mm-hmm. And yet it kind of still seemed like it, and so it was intriguing trying to figure out what was going on. Yeah.
Okay, so to get started officially, director is Jee-woon Kim, writer Jee-woon Kim, stars Kap-su Kim, Jung-ah, Soo-jung Lim. It is Korean, it's subtitled, it's 1 hour and 55 minutes. Link in the show notes for Amazon.
Yeah.
We start out in a mental institution. The doctor shows the girl seated there a picture of a family. Do you know who these people are? Will you talk about what happened that day, he asks. She doesn't answer, but we flash back to that day.
Yeah, apparently.
Actually, a while before
apparently,
that.
the whole movie is a flashback.
Yeah, most of it.
I think so. Yeah.
Father Park. I don't know all these characters' names, so it's father and stepmother.
Yeah, father, stepmother, older sister, younger sister.
Yeah. Father parks the car at the house, and the two girls get out. Soo-Yeon eats some kind of nasty-looking fruit, and Soo-mi reads her palms but doesn't like what she sees. Soo-mi looks like maybe she's a year or two older than Soo-Yeon. Mm-hmm. They finally go inside the house, and their stepmother greets them. You're both feeling better, right? She asks. So we know they're coming back from somewhere where they didn't feel good.
Yeah, something going on there.
There's an awkward dinner with the two girls, the father, and the stepmother. Soo-Yeon hears noises outside in the night, which keeps her awake, so she crawls into bed with Soo-mi. The next morning, Soo-mi sees a figure in black crawling on the floor of her room. It looks like a woman with a broken neck, only really diseased or something.
And this might have been a dream. You can't tell.
Yeah.
Because she wakes up suddenly the next morning and looking around and
Yeah.
But then later, it does seem like there's some ghosts in there too, further complicating what's going on.
There's a lot going on.
Who are
here.
these ghosts?
The next morning, it just happens that we hear that all three women in the house are having their period at the same time. It sounds
Which
like
can
a
happen.
random coincidence, but there's a point to it
and
later.
I've heard of that happening, and it's a coincidence, and
I suppose it could happen once to anybody.
Doesn't seem like a major.
Yeah.
Doesn't it's a little odd, but it's a thing. Yeah.
Soo-Yeon goes through some old pictures, including the one we saw at the institution. It's a photo of her mother and father and both girls. Mm-hmm. There's also a photo of the four of them with the stepmother standing nearby. Looks like the father and the stepmother worked together for a while.
Yeah, the father was a doctor. Is a doctor. That's why he had all the medical stuff at home. Ah. Yeah, and she was the stepmother was a nurse apparently that she worked with.
There is some family drama as the stepmother and Soo-mi argue. Father and stepmother have another couple over for dinner, the girls' uncles, and it's even more awkward.
Yeah, the most awkward dinner ever.
The stepmother tells old stories that the guests claim they don't remember.
And they're, she's just
really having a good old time
having
with
a
these
great
stories.
time, and they're not amused at all, and they just look, and the father just looks really uncomfortable, and what's going on here?
The woman
still
guest,
wondering what's going on.
Yeah, the woman guest then has some kind of fit and goes into convulsions. Pretty sure it's not epilepsy, but it's something like that.
No, but some kind of and there's medication.
Yeah,
he has her husband has medication.
She screams and pukes all over the floor, and her husband gives her some pills. After they leave, the stepmother sees a ghostly girl in the dining room. After that, she's convinced that there's something in the house.
And the sister, or the guest, when she was having her fit, she saw a ghost under the sink.
The guest saw the broke-necked black woman crawling around on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Then later, the stepmother sees a young girl who's not the same ghost.
Yeah,
it's a different one.
So there's two ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah. The little girl looks clean and more normal.
Two ghosts and a sister who may or may not be real, but is real because
Everybody talks to her. She's real at this point.
Yeah.
Father comes in and demands to know why Soo-mi has been acting so strangely. Soo-mi explains that stepmother has been harassing Su-Yeon.
Mm-hmm.
Father says to stop saying those things because we all know Su-Yeon is dead. On the other hand, Su-Yeon is standing right there next to Soo-mi.
Yeah.
Someone is confused.
Something's very wrong here.
Soo-Yeon starts screaming. Change of scene. Next morning, we see stepmother dragging a corpse-sized bloody sack out of the house. She stops and beats on it angrily. Soo-mi can't find Su-Yeon now, but there's a long trail of blood on the floor. Soo-mi and the stepmother fight. Soo-mi gets knocked out.
That's quite the fight, too. Yeah, they really...
The fish hooks
they
and the
really
glass
knock
and
down,
the banging
drag
their
out.
heads. It's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Father finds Soo-mi unconscious and bloody on the floor,
Yeah,
but
all
no
the-
one else
and
is
the-
around.
The mess all over all the smashed up stuff. Yeah.
We see Father bandaging wounds on stepmother, and Soo-mi is nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Just then, the door opens and the real stepmother comes in, for the first time in this movie, and sees Soo-mi sitting there alone.
You just completely spoiled it.
If you aren't figuring it out a little, the movie is very confusing at this point. Soo-mi is real. Su-Yeon has been dead for years, and the real stepmother just arrived. She hadn't been real either until just now. There's two imaginary characters.
And that explains it.
That's how they were interacting.
Yeah. And if you've seen Fight Club with how he imagined Tyler Durden, sometimes he saw Tyler as another person, and sometimes he was being Tyler himself. And the same way.
So when the father was talking to the
saw,
stepmother, he was really talking to Soo-mi. It was just we see the stepmother.
like that awkward dinner where the guests come.
It was Soo-mi sitting there
saw it
telling
as
them
the
stories
stepmother.
about these adults' childhood, and she wasn't there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They were seeing this kid telling them old stories, and no, they don't remember it like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think what I was suspecting was that by that point the stepmother and sister, because when they gave the sister was dead, I thought, and if the stepmother was also dead, and
It would be like two ghosts or two but she's
two
not
imaginary
dead.
people, but she wasn't dead.
Yeah.
No, she was just gone.
As Soo-mi sits in the institution, she remembers what caused all this. Meanwhile, the real stepmother is at home and hears strange noises. She goes into a room that is freezing cold. The door slams and the lights go out. The black, broken-neck ghost appears and kills her.
Mm-hmm.
End of stepmother.
Yeah.
For real this time.
Yeah.
Finally, we get a flashback explaining everything that really happened. Father and stepmother were having an affair, and real mother found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
Real mother then hung herself in the wardrobe. Su-Yeon found the body and then panicked and knocked the wardrobe over onto herself, which crushed her to death.
Mm-hmm.
The mother and Su-Yeon have appeared as the scary-looking ghosts, while the non-scary Su-Yeon and most of the appearances by the stepmother were all inside Soo-mi's head. You got two ghosts that are real, two imaginary characters that are not.
Yeah. So that's
Complicated.
That's why it was hard to figure out what was going on.
It's all right. I immediately figured that one of the girls wasn't real, but the imaginary stepmother kept talking to both of them, which made it confusing.
And
then the father would talk to all of them, which was confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having two imaginary characters made it much harder to figure out, and then there was ghosts as well. It's not clear why the party guest had the seizure. I guess she was just a ghost-sensitive kind of person.
No, I think it's just unrelated coincidence.
Well, they said it was her uncle, so I assumed that the woman was her aunt, which could have been the mother's sister. The mother was crazy. She committed suicide. and she had pills there. Those pills, I think, were hers, the mother's. The aunt was taking pills also, so it could be some sort of mental illness ran in their family.
Maybe.
And now Soo-mi's got it too.
Maybe.
Which makes it a little more sense to me.
Oh.
The mother had it. The aunt
Soo-mi's
has
really
it.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was up with the tent in the road? As the aunt and uncle are driving to the house, they pass these camping tents out on the road.
I looked that up online.
Not on the curb,
and
not on the
said,
side, in the road.
I looked it up, and it said that they mean nothing and don't read anything into it, that's a thing in Korea, they have an agricultural purpose. But it has no bearing on the movie, it's just a thing.
I wouldn't want to sleep on a tent in the road.
Not in the road, no. But it sure looked like it was in the road. They kind of had to swerve to avoid hitting it.
Yeah, it was like in the right lane.
Yeah. Were they driving in the right lane?
I don't know how they do it in Korea.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is our show this week.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at horrorguys.com for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or to contact us. Now, next week,
What do we have?
we've got the Universal Studio monster flick Tower of London from 1939.
I haven't seen that.
The contemporary classic Were from 2013. That's W-E-R.
I haven't seen that. Weird.
Yeah, the very new movie Cam from 2018.
I haven't seen that.
And our international feature Possession from 1981.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen any of these either. This could be an interesting
All
week for
new
both
movies.
of us.
Yeah.
Give those a watch this week and see if your opinion matches ours next week. Check out our Twitter feed at Horror Bulletin and find our group Horror Guys Podcast on Facebook. And of course the website at horrorguys.com.
We share all kinds of interesting things on Twitter and Facebook when we find them.
Twitter is cool. We got a lot of good stuff on Twitter. And I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.